Why is reckless driving in Northern Virginia so common? First of all, if you think about it, we have relatively low speed limits here in Fairfax County, at least, compared to areas like Stafford, where 65 is relatively common. We also have the Dulles Toll Road, Fairfax County Parkway, 66, 495, 95, 395. Often the speed limit is 55 miles an hour, and the vast majority of cases I see involve 55 mile per hour zones. So, today we're here to talk about, as I said, an advanced defense. We've already talked about calibration requirements in previous articles I've published. To get right into it, let's just recap those basics very quickly for those of you who do not know. An officer has to have, if speed is at issue, a certificate showing the speedometer of the vehicle used when testing the device, the accuracy or calibration of the tuning fork if one was used. Now, the method used to test the device also has to be included on the certificate, a date to indicate when it was tested, and who tested it, among some other requirements. So the first thing that I usually look for, as do many experienced attorneys, is the date, because that's the easiest thing to spot right off the bat. If it's more than 6 months old, you're in a good position. But the law states that even though it's only valid for 6 months, there are some other requirements, and that's what we're here to talk about today. Specifically, what is a true copy? You have to look very careful, because not only does the calibration certificate have to be notarized, it has to be notarized and authenticated as a true copy pursuant to Virginia Law 8.01391 by the custodian of the record or the person who to the custodian reports. A signature is going to be required for that. But oftentimes it's difficult, if not impossible, to tell whether or not that person who notarized the calibration certificate is in fact a custodian or a person to whom that custodian reports. So on this post, you'll see lots of different case law. If you're an attorney, I invite you to go look that stuff up, check out the code sections, send me a message if you've got a question. I'd be happy to talk about that. And if you're somebody here who's reading or watching this because you have an upcoming case, again, we offer free consultations. I'd be happy to go through your case and explain to you, based on the facts of the case, what I think. The Court of Appeals in Virginia once held that even though calibration certificates showing the accuracy of tuning forks used to calibrate that radar device did have the notary public's attestation, it did not contain information that they were a custodian of the original, like we just talked about, nor that a notary had the original in his or her custody, which is an important point. It was a mere photocopy, not a true copy. So another advanced radar defense that I would like to talk about is the device actually an approved device? You can't just go, as an officer, use any old radar device laying around the station. It has to be approved by law, and it's beyond the scope of this article, but it has to be approved by the FCC in any event. So let's talk about testimony from the officer that the device was operating properly or improperly, as the case may be. There are nuances. For instance, case law held that a prosecution met the requirement by showing the radar had been appropriately set up and tested for accuracy, by showing that it had been checked against a calibrated speedometer of a police cruiser. However, another case said that the radar device was tested when it was originally set up. It was operating fine. It was then taken down and moved to another location, and there was no evidence to show that at the new location the device was tested, or that it was tested when it was taken down and moved. And thus, the court said, sending it back is not enough to merely say that the speedometer of the vehicle used had been calibrated. It instead must reflect a factual finding as to the accuracy. And this seems subtle, it kind of is, but a good Virginia traffic lawyer or Virginia defense attorney should not overlook any possible defense, especially when you're talking about a speed that could result in jail time. It's Brent Vincennes. Have a great night.